Hello everyone, welcome to a foreigner farming in the Philippines. I got a little bit of this watering done this morning before I had to take the guys down to the bus station. This has been siphoning. I unplugged the pump, but this has been siphoning all that time. Not much, but some of it's been siphoning out. So I'm going to continue here where I've left off. I've got to water everything today. I did that section over there already, but everything else has to be watered today. And I had been hoping that I would be finished by now, but I didn't think it would take 3 hours to get everybody sent off, but it, it did. So, it is what it is. It's partially cloudy today, so I'm not quite so reticent to be watering. At least I'm not watering in the direct sunlight. I would like a good portion of this to soak in and not just evaporate. So with the only partially cloudy, we should be all right. My biggest concern is being able to. I checked the voltage on the batteries, and it was good. Of course, I haven't been running anything, but my biggest concern is being able to run the main pump long enough when I'm finished watering to fill up that last tank, that last breeder tank. A little more water exchange. I forget where I was at here. Yeah, I guess that's the last one I got there. I was in the process of standing up these tomatoes when I got called away. And this one here needs some love as well. Marcel's got ginger planted in this row. There's some right there. I'm going to set this hose over here and just let it drain into that row while I fix up this tomato plant. See if I can get it back into the... I just don't like this tying them up the way that they've been doing it. I would much rather weave them through the twine than tie them. Alright, well, I've got a good bit of this watered. I'm going to go up and show you what I've got Ippy doing. It's running around a tree right now, so I've got a few minutes. So I watered all these tomatoes here earlier, just like an hour ago. And what I'm having Ippy do is come around and make proper basins around these. And she's not going to have time today, but tomorrow I'm going to have her take all these little pieces of tieback, they call it, that Marcel had her put on it, or maybe Marcel did it, I don't know. It's just not the way to do it, period. These plants could survive another 3 years, but could be productive for another 6 months, let's say. And you know, I've grown tomatoes in a greenhouse that were over 8 feet tall, and the stems of them were 2 to 3 times the size of your thumb. And what happens when you've got something like this around a stem, 6 weeks from now that plant's going to be choked, and as it grows, it will grow up, and this this will catch on this. It's just, this isn't the way to do it. So I showed Ippy what I wanted her to do on these back here. Where's the one that I gave her a sample? This one here, easy peasy. Now I always used a double string, but you can do it on a single string like this. I always had a double string about this far apart. So one portion is here on that side, this one's on this side, and as it grows, put this one on this side, you kind of weave it through. And on some of them you will have to put a stop so they don't fall over, but rarely. That's the way to do it. You're not restricting the growth of the plant, and it's easy. I don't know how long it took. I think it took Maricel the better part of an afternoon to put all this tie back on. We're a little bit late in the game. It's not game over. You can still do it, but about this size and a little bit bigger, that's when you start weaving them. And there is space on these poles for another, I don't know, 3 or 4 strings, three or 4 more of these, and I will imagine that at some point we'll be stringing these higher, because they'll be higher than my head. If we can get these basins around them properly. Look, we don't have a drip system, so these basins are absolutely positively necessary, because in this clay soil it's like a parking lot. Once it's dry and hard, the water just runs off. It doesn't soak in. And without basins, you can't properly water these plants. I don't have a hoe. I can't give you a proper example, but they have to have basins. We don't have a drip system, and we have clay soil. Now if we had silty loam with a lot of biomatter in it, loose biomatter like rice hulls, really loose compost, you could water, or even sandy loam, you could water it in easily and it just soaks right in. But you can't do it on clay like we've got here. You have to have basins. That's all there is to it. So this is going to be Ippy's project for the rest of the day, and I would imagine keep her pretty much busy tomorrow as well. You know, back to watering I go. And when she gets done with these tomatoes, I'm going to have her do all these eggplant. Now, I've already done all the trees, and I did a little bit around the eggplants. Made small basins around them. Looks like I've been talking too long because the water is out of this basin. We just need to go back uphill here a little bit. Basins are an absolute must with this clay soil. As you can see, it just runs like it's a parking lot. It doesn't soak in, it just runs off. And that was even a little flat spot there. But you cannot get any kind of water penetration on our soil here. I know it doesn't come up on video, but even where I'm standing, there's a big slope. Just watch how that water runs, because that's the slope we've got here. It goes from the house down to the pond, and it's a substantial slope. And so if we don't have basins around all this stuff, the water will just run off. Just run off the top and not soak in. So we're going to put serious basins around all of these so that this is water out of the fish tank. It's good stuff, so that we can get a good amount of water around these without it just running off. See how much water I'm putting around this one, because it still has a decent enough basin left. That's what these plants need, is a good drink. Not just a little splash and go. Marcel came through and sprayed these yesterday, and I forget the spray that we used. It's I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it works. And I don't care what anybody says. If they say they're not, they're lying. You cannot grow anything around here without using insecticide. We're surrounded on all sides by jungle, and the insect load here would blow your mind if you're from the west. Home remedies are, it's not that they don't work, they do work, but they don't work well. They're just kind of they're not a waste of time. I have to keep my hose. They're not a waste of time, but they're so much less effective than a chemical pesticide that it just borderlines on you're wasting your time. You know, I've tried the soap and the baking soda and the neem oil and chili powder and chili oil. You know, it's not that I'm ignorant of all that stuff, and I've tried it all. And for especially the ants, but also the worms that get into these eggplant and the amplia, you're just wasting your time, basically. It knocks them down, it lessens them, but in a week or two they're right back in full strength. So it's like you've wasted your time, unless you want to just keep spraying over and over and over again. You can never get rid of all of them. You can never get them out of your garden, not using natural methods. And so that's why we bought a chemical spray. A legal chemical spray. Now, I've never been a big proponent of using pesticides, insecticides, that kind of stuff. I've never liked using it. But you reach a point where you got to make a decision. Are you going to have a commercial farm? Are you going to have a commercial operation? Or are you going to have a hobby? And I made the decision about a year ago that this was going to be a commercial farm. Again, we got kind of sidetracked with the milkfish operation and let the vegetable gardening, farming side of things wane. It's not that we weren't doing well with it. You guys, we've got, I think, almost 100 harvesting videos of crops that we harvested out of here. Tons of stuff. But when the milkfish came along, look, even me, even I can't juggle that many balls and keep them all in the air. And I didn't have time to do what I'm doing now, which is take a whole day and water stuff. I just didn't have time to do it. And now I do. I didn't have time to take a whole day and do what Ippy's doing. There's just not enough hours in the day for one person to do all this. Marcel has Charlie, that limits her to an hour or two. Leaves me about 8 or 9 hours because I still have a YouTube channel to do. When it takes about 25 hours a day to make all this happen. So we have to have a full-time employee, and eventually we'll have to have two. Ippy and someone else. Just for the gardening side of it. Alright, well, I got to a couple of the trees there. All that will be tomorrow's watering. I'm done for today. I'm going to feed the fish and call it good. See how far Ippy's gotten here. Looks like she's about half done. Alrighty. Thank you everyone. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.